It's time for this week's episode of Brandon Sports Talk, featuring in-depth interviews from those who are trending in the world of athletics. And now, here's the host of Brandon Sports Talk, Brandon Pate.
Welcome back to Brandon Sports Talk. In today's episode, I have the privilege to interview Jake Thomson, who is the PA announcer for the Raptors 905. How are you doing today?
I'm good, Brandon. I'm good. It's a beautiful day here in Toronto. Looks like a little cloudy, but beautiful nonetheless, so I can't complain.
Can you talk about how you knew that you wanted to be a PA announcer?
Well, I'll be honest, I knew I wanted to work in sport, but I did not know I wanted to be a PA announcer. That caught me by surprise, to be honest. When I was a student at Humber College, I was working game days, and the MC who was doing like the halftime games and stuff like that, they had to miss a game. And so I filled in, but I was totally just BSing, joking around. Just, I'm like, whatever, I get to have the microphone and mess around. But then turns out I sound very natural on a microphone. Turns out it's something that I'm pretty good at. So then people were like, yo, you should like think about this, look into this. So then, of course, the Humber PA announcer at the time, he crosses the gym and he says, hey, you know what? I have way too much on my plate because he had a full-time position at the college. He's like, I have way too much on my plate and to monitor everything and PA announce, that's too much. Tell you what, you take the PA. That way, that's one less thing for me. And then the rest is history.
What was the feeling like whenever you got the job as a PA announcer for Humberton?
Uh, well, for Humber College, it was extremely, it felt like a lot of pressure, but no pressure at all. No pressure at all because I was also a student athlete. So that's my home facility. I'm basically just announcing games for my friends. So in that sense, it felt like there was no pressure at all. But then also there was a lot of pressure because then, that athlete mindset. I want to be great at everything I do, um, and also the history. A lot of people don't know this, but there was me, of course, and then before me there was Ari Zanarios, the old Raptors 905 announcer who went to Humber. Before him, there was Herbie Kuhn, the Raptors announcer who went to Humber. So there was like a bit of lineage there. So I felt like I needed to match that.
Of course, how was it like balancing being a student athlete and, of course, being a PA announcer?
Well, I'll be honest, it was one of the toughest things I've done. Um, but like easily one of the most worthwhile. I was on the cross country team. I was captain of the team and I was absolutely obsessed. I wanted to be so good at my sport, but then I also wanted to be so good at my job. Uh and so there were some times when I'd be like in the weight room just like doing squats and I'm going over the game script in my head, and then, of course, at the end of the day, having to do homework. So it was stressful at times, uh, but um, it was such a unique experience. I don't know many people who got to do all the things that I got to do in school.
What was your time like with the University of Toronto as the PA announcer?
University of Toronto was unfortunately short-lived because I had so much on my plate. So I didn't get to be with them for as long as I would have liked to. But it was really, really fun because it challenged me because they had a list of PA announcers because they had so many sports and so many events at one time. So it's not like I was the one guy versus like I was at Humber where they can only, respectfully run one event at a time. Um, so because of that, they have their guys who they've had for years doing the quote unquote big events, the volleyball, the basketball, the championship tournaments. And then they got me just to do little things like their hockey games. Well, I say little, but respectively. Their hockey games, their swim meets. I did exhibition volleyball games. I never got to touch a regular season one, unfortunately. Um, but it was really fun because I know very little about hockey in general. So then having to know as much as I can on the bus ride over, and then knowing the game script and knowing what they expect of me, knowing what the PA announcer's role is in a hockey game, was challenging, but really fun. And now I have that. I can go and do just about any hockey game if I really want to now.
What was your time like with the Toronto Double Blue crew?
Oh yes, with the Argos. So I graduated the sport management program at Humber. So with that, I am looking to be a sport professional. Like I said, PA announcing wasn't originally on, the docket. Um, so that for me was just a foot in the door. I love MLSE. I love the work that I'd done with them to that point. Uh, so I was like, you know what? Why not? Let's try it. Let's go for it. And that was fun, fun but challenging. Definitely I feel like I'm saying that word a lot, but only because it's true. It was challenging because the Double Blue crew is basically, along with helping to execute all the promotional things that go on, we were responsible for just getting the crowd hyped. So we're those people who you see running into the stands, looking at everyone and being like, "Let's go Argos," and expecting people to chant back, which was really challenging the one season I was there because they had a bit of a poor season. So it's really bad to look diehard Argos fans in their eyes and say, "Let's go Argos," when we're down when we're down like 30 points. Because they're just gonna look at you like, boy, if you don't get out of my face.
Of course, when it comes to things like that, how do you atmosphere the fan engagement when it comes to that?
It's tough. And you know what? I think that was my question to my boss, the promotions lead at the time. I was like, hey, how are we supposed to feel that out? Like, I remember the first game of the season. It was like I remember this. Gosh, I want to say it was like 59-6 was the end score. Don't quote me on that. But it was something like that. Uh, and I remember going to my boss and be like, hey, people want nothing to do with us. What do we do? And it was such a simple answer. I loved and hated it. He said, honestly, you just gotta keep on keeping on, like that's the thing. And I think that's a very, perfect way to look at it, because that's the same with any position, whether you're, one of the big wigs up in the office or whether you're down in the stands like we were. You have a job to do, you're there to do it. If people don't like you for it, that sucks. Obviously if you're getting, you know popcorn and pizza thrown at you, then probably stop. But if you can do it, then you probably should do it.
What was it like working with the MLB as an advocate?
Oh, the activation crew, you mean?
Yes.
Yes. So I was with the Toronto Blue Jays activation, um, and that, honestly, outside of PA announcing, that is my favorite job that I've had so far. And I don't know if you saw my LinkedIn, I've had a lot of jobs, as any millennial does these days. Um, that was so much fun. It was such a good group of people. It's so pure, because a lot of people think, everything about pro sports is strictly about money. Everything we're doing is to make money. And the Blue Jays activation crew is so far from that. We genuinely are there to make sure that the fans have a good time. And I love that. I love that. I'm one of those. I love people. I love being in front of people. I'm not sure I could sit in a cubicle by myself all day. Like at the very least, I'm gonna go to other cubicles and bug people. Um, if I were to end up with an office job. But the activation crew is so much fun. We're responsible for everything and anything to do with the promotion side of the Blue Jays. So giveaway days where you're getting bobbleheads, towels, glasses upon entrance. We're responsible for that. We oversee that, everything from packaging to counting the items to distributing them to just overseeing, because obviously there's got to be rules, overseeing the rules and making sure that they're followed. On Junior Jay's Sunday, we were responsible for, uh, running all the games that the kids play, because it's impossible to get a kid to sit down and watch a 3-hour baseball game. Naturally, they're going to come to you. You can't expect expect it to be dead. You got to expect those kids to come to you and your setup, and they're going to want to play. And you got to match their energy, and you got to be able to have a good time with them. And yeah, everything about it was just so much fun because I think it really just showed me how pure uh, sports can be.
Of course, what was it like getting the Toronto FC job?
That is a funny story. So I remember I was auditioning for the Toronto Argos PA job. Uh, and I went in there, and I think I had a pretty good audition. From what I understand, maybe I was lied to, but from what I understand, it was between me and one other individual who ended up getting the job. I never caught his name, which is unfortunate because he's so good, and I would love to speak to him some more. I never caught his name, but he ended up getting the job. And then I got an email and that, hey, Jake Ferreira was his name. And he said, hi, I'm Jake. I was at your audition. I'm the game day coordinator, game presentation coordinator, whatever the position was for TFC2, the affiliate team. Uh, and tell you what, we need a PA guy. Would love if you could, just come in and do it for us. So there was no real interview. I guess my audition for the Argos was my interview because he was just handing me the job. So I was like, dang, that's kind of cool. um, and I think that is just the perfect, that really embodies the whole you never know who's watching. You never know who's going to be there. You never know who you'll run into. Because auditioning and failing to get one job landed me another job. And that was really cool. And that was a lot more exposure to soccer. I had announced soccer games before, but very minimal. So getting to do that was incredible. And, like the 905, there's going to be some guys who are going to be on assignment. So like I got to see Io Akinola. Oh gosh, I think I pronounced that right. Akinola. Oh boy. Oh boy, I might get in trouble for that. But I got to see him play because he came down from TFC, and that was incredible. He looks very natural with the ball. I got to see a lot of the up and comers, which is incredible, which is always a great feeling.
What was the feeling like whenever you got the Toronto 905 job?
That was also incredible. um, so the 905 were hosting the G League Showcase in January of 2018. And I knew Ari Zanarios, the PA announcer at the time for the 905. So he called me up and said, hey, we're running a 2-court thing. I didn't know what the showcase was at the time. Like, we're running a 2-court thing. Obviously, I can't be on both courts, and there's multiple games throughout the day. And I can't do every game. I've recommended you. Do you want to come in and help out? Like, duh, yes, I want to come in and help out. Oh my God. Like, I'm still in school at this point. So this is my first taste of the pros. I'm like, what kind of a question is that? So I go in, help out. I got to do a few of the showcase games. For those who don't know, the G League Showcase is essentially where a whole bunch of regular season games for the G League just happen in one spot. It's since been moved to Las Vegas, and they have an entire facility there for it. Um, as much as I would love for it to come back, from what I can see, they're much better suited to to host it there. From what I can see on the streams, that court, that whole setup is just made for it. So I love that for the G League. Um, and it's just a spot where scouts and coaches can go to check out, the G League, because those guys are trying to make it to the NBA. So it's all happening in one spot, so coaches and scouts don't have to, go coast to coast to check everything out. And so the 905 was hosting it. I got to do a few games, and so fast forward a few months, Ari has to miss a couple games with the 905. He also has a full-time job, and he's also the announcer for TFC. And so they call me to fill in. They're like, "Hey, you did a great job with the showcase. Could you just fill in for this regular season game? Ari has to be out." Sure, I'd love to. I do it. I think it goes pretty well. Fast forward a little more, and they say, "Hey, tell you what, Ari has a little bit too much on his plate. He wants to leave the 905 behind. We need a guy. We'd love that to be you." And I'm keeping it cool on the phone. Like, yeah, no, of course. That sounds great. That sounds great. Of course, I hang up. I'm like doing backflips. Um, and so from there, yeah, gosh, I think in the 2 seasons I've done with them, I've missed maybe one game, because I just love it so much. It's so fun. So I try my best to prioritize that and make sure I'm there no matter what's going on. Um, and it's easily the coolest job I've ever had. Um, I like to brag, I got to announce games for Lorenzo Brown and Chris Boucher. That's two G League MVPs. You know, everyone was talking about Chris Boucher was killing it with the Raptors. I'm like, yeah, well, I saw him first. I told you guys he was going to be great. No one listened. It's really really cool, and it's super cool as a fan. It's really cool, like those few games where Stanley Johnson comes down on assignment, and you get to see him play up close. And I'll be honest, the cameras don't do him justice. That kid is jacked. He is so jacked. Oh my god, he is a large man. um but yeah, as a fan it's really cool. As a professional, it's also really cool. The one thing I love about the G League is everyone there is looking for an NBA job. Everyone from, myself, I would love to announce with the Raptors or any other NBA team that would have me. Anyone on the game table is like, you know what, these games are awesome, but I'd love to, be recording stats up for the Raptors. The refs. There are a lot of them do both, and then some of them are trying to make their way into the NBA, just like the players. So I love that we're all kind of on the same page. We're loving this, we're doing it, we're having a blast, and I think a lot of us ultimately wouldn't trade that job for anything else. But if an NBA opportunity presents itself, absolutely.
Of course, how is it like knowing that you are a fan of the Raptors and, of course, trying to be professional while you're announcing games?
I think, you know what? I'm glad I got the job when I did, because it was at a point in my life where I learned to be professional. If I got that job when I was like, I don't know, like 14, 15, I wouldn't have, wouldn't have handled it well. But it's incredible. I think it's one of those things that I think I'm so caught up in the job. I want to do it well. I want to be good at it. I want to get things right. I don't like, hitting the bare minimum, as a person, as a professional. But of course, I'm gonna go home that night and see all the highlights and be like, damn, like I was there. I announced that game. That's awesome.
Of course,
uh, yeah, so I think you naturally learn to balance it. I guess if you really want to be good at, you got to be learn, gotta pardon me, you got to learn to be good at the job before you can learn to be good in that environment.
what is it? What are some of your famous catchphrases and sayings that you use for the Raptors 905?
Oh man. Well, of course, every PA announcer needs something for when there's a dunk. Everyone does. And, everyone knows Herbie Coon's, the jam. That's classic. Ari's was really fun. His every dunk, he go boom shakalaka. And I keep it simple. I just, say the name. I'll say Chris Boucher just as an example. And I'll say puts it down. Chris Boucher puts it down. That's really fun. I think what people most know me for is my 3 call. So I'll just say the name 4-3. Trying to think of, like, we had Matt Thomas for a few games, and I'd be like, Matt Thomas 4-3. And people love that. I know my boss loves it. He created a graphic for the video board just because of my 3 call. He's like, we had nothing before, and then you inspired me. I'm like, awesome. You're welcome. I think those are probably the go-tos.
When it comes to some of your catchphrases, how do you, of course, know when to say them and when, like, obviously to get the crowd hype?
So I think that's the thing. I'm going to say them on every dunk, on every 3-point shot, but how much energy, how long I hold it will depend on the crowd. If it's a full house, I'm probably gonna put some extra pepper on it every time, no matter what. Because when it's a full house, it's gonna get loud, and if I get loud, they're gonna want to match that, or they're gonna want to match the energy of the game, or whatever it is. And honestly, even if it's a small crowd, but it's an intense game, it manages to get loud. It manages to get energetic. And of course, I gotta either match that or set the tone. So I think, yeah, big crowd. I'm gonna say it no matter what. Don't get me wrong. I am always gonna hype up our guys, but there's always gonna be that little extra when it's a tight game or when it's a big crowd.
What were some of the things that you had to implement during COVID whenever there was no fans or limited fans?
Yeah, so it's really, really tough. I think we got to do one game when things were a little questionable, and there wasn't a shutdown just yet, but everyone was very weary about it. Uh, and we got to do one game in that sort of environment. And yeah, there was limited people, but we just had to keep it going, business as usual. I think the thing that changed was, for me and my job specifically, nothing serious, but I had they gave me excuse me, they gave me a read to do, just reminding people to wash their hands, to visit this site for more details, things like that. Be careful about rubbing your eyes, mouth, nose. Um, so adding that read in there was not strenuous. It was just one more thing to read, but it was weird because I've never in my life had to tell other grown adults to wash their hands. Yeah. So in that sense, it was weird. And it was funny because you could even feel just the energy in the crowd that day, that we were all watching. We were there having a good time, pretending everything was okay, but I think everyone kind of knew it was not okay. And I remember that game very well because it, like I said, went business as usual. And then I met up with some friends at a bar after, just to have a drink, have a meal, talk about it. I remember they were at the game, so we thought, okay, let's hang out while we're all here. And we were looking at the TV, and that's when the very first NBA shutdown was. Like, they shut down the game. I want to say it was the Jazz and Pelicans. Um, and I remember we were all watching, like, in awe, like, wow, like, this is so serious. At the time, we just thought it was just a flu that was going around. We're like, damn, like, a flu just shut down an entire NBA game. And I think that's when it hit us. We're like, oh, this is real. And then that's when I'm suddenly looking at my phone like, oh boy, the next game is like, it was like Tuesday, I want to say. I'm like, damn, the next game is Saturday. I don't think I'm going into work. And sure enough, we got shut down. I haven't done a game since, to be honest. That was March 2020. Because then the next season happened in Las Vegas at the showcase spot where I told you about. And so we're just waiting for the Canadian government to allow us so that we can get back to it, to some kind of normal.
What do you look forward to happening, of course, once the Canadian government lets you go back to normal and you're back in Toronto Raptors Stadium?
Oh man, when I can get back to announcing games, it will be glorious. But um, I'm most looking forward to the crowds. I think we can pump in all the artificial crowd noise we want, but for me, it's seeing a dunk happen, then the crowd losing it, then I announce it, then the crowd loses it even more, or it's being able to say, everyone make some noise, get loud, and then they make some noise and get loud. That can't happen in an empty in an empty arena. Uh, so I think that's, and you know what? That's the cliche answer. I think you hear all the pros say it, like, yeah, the crowd, seeing the crowd, the fans, but like I think that's the honest truth. That is the honest truth. Hearing the fans and their excitement just gets you excited. Like I said before about like the Blue Jays, the purity of sport is what makes us all love it.
What is something that you learn now that you didn't know before becoming a PA announcer for professional sports?
Oh man, think I think my like mentor, the one who kind of showed me the ropes, I remember what he said to me when I was very early on that I've carried with me ever since. I wish I knew it going in, but it's one of those things I've had to learn as I've gone on. He told me it when I was younger, but I think the older I've gotten, the more it's stuck. Is if you're gonna screw up with confidence. Because there's little things, you mispronounce a word, you miss a call, you screw something up. Depending on severity of it, obviously. But if little mispronunciations, stumbles, stutters, you're gonna remember those a lot better than the crowd will. They have moved on. You'll stutter once, and there'll maybe be that one person in the crowd who's like, "Oh, did he just stutter?" That's the worst you're gonna get. That is the worst you're gonna get, because guess what? He just got up and went to go get some popcorn and came back to watch the game. He does not give a damn about you, bro. Like, like as a PA announcer, he doesn't give a damn. Um, so if you're gonna screw up with confidence. Make it so confident, that people don't even realize it's a screw up, and then move on. Because that's really it. And yeah, if I had known that going in, that would have saved me some heartache, because there are so many times when I toss and turn, I'm like, oh, I can't believe I did that. And then my friends in the crowd are like, bro, I didn't even notice. I did. What? When did you screw up? Yeah. And like I said, it's something I've learned as I've gone on, but if I knew it going in, oh gosh, that would have been so much better.
What advice would you give somebody looking to become a PA announcer on the professional level of sports?
Well, obviously, like I just said, if you're gonna screw up with confidence. But don't aim to screw up. um, Other than that, I think be creative, have fun with it, because your energy on the microphone translates. There are some players who, most players, they've been doing if once you've reached the pros, you've probably been, as a player, you've been hearing a lot of PA announcers over your lifetime. It's probably white noise to you. But you know what? In my mind, what I think is there's that odd player who, maybe needs that bit of uh, ego feeding. Maybe you gotta, put a little extra pepper on his name. Maybe you gotta hype up his play. I had friends like that at Humber who said, like, Jake, man, I couldn't have gone on with the rest of that game if it wasn't for you hyping me up. I'm like, I was just doing my job. He's like, well, thank you. And I'm like, damn. So I remember that. There's that odd player who, you're not white noise to them. There's the players, obviously there's the fans. There are some fans who go there and genuinely don't know what's going on. They need to hear you saying, the foul calls and why that was a foul, who just scored, was that worth 3 points? They need to hear that from you. Because, not every fan in the stands is a diehard. That's just the reality of it. So have energy and have fun with it, because there are lots of people in the crowd who you're white noise to, but there are also lots of people who are depending on hearing your voice, your energy, your announcements.
Where can my listeners find you at on social media?
Well, I have a social media that's I have an Instagram, 2 Instagrams. My personal, where you can just see what I get up to on the daily, just in my life, is at Jake2Fly. That's the number 2 FLI. Then there's my announcing one, where you get to see a little more of what I get up to as an announcer, some of the places I've been, things I've done. I'll be honest, that one's been a little dead because of COVID, but you can check it out anyway. And that's at Jake the Voice.
Thank you again, Jake Thomas, for your interview, and best of luck in your future with the Raptors 905.
Thank you so much, Brandon. Hope to see you and maybe others at the games once we're back to that.
Thank you. You can find Brandon Sports Talk on Facebook at Brandon Sports Talk, Instagram at Brandon Sports Talk, Twitter at @talk_Brandon, and you can find me on YouTube at Brandon Sports Talk. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. Thank you again, Jake, for your interview, and best of luck.
You've been watching Brandon Sports Talk. Please feel free to like, share, and subscribe to Brandon Sports Talk on social media and on YouTube.